Deep underground, where the air gets colder and the walls close in, the world becomes quiet until it doesn't. In the depths of these caves, what starts as an adventure can spiral into a fight for survival. Today, we explore 3 chilling moments where caving went catastrophically wrong. Stories that will make you question how far you'd go into the dark. The Nutty Putty Nightmare. Imagine squeezing through a tunnel so tight that your chest barely has space to rise when you breathe. That's where John Edward Jones found himself, 32 years old, full of life, exploring Utah's infamous Nutty Putty Cave with his brother and friends just days before Thanksgiving. This wasn't his first caving trip. John had grown up exploring underground, so this was meant to be a little family adventure. But Nutty Putty had a reputation. Its narrow, twisting passages had caused issues before, so much so that parts of it had been closed off. But that night in 2009, John went in anyway. He spotted a hole he believed was the birth canal, a notoriously tight route that other cavers had passed through. Eager to show he could do it too, he dove in head first. But he was wrong. This wasn't the same tunnel. It was even narrower. And as he wriggled further, something shifted. His body began to angle downward. Gravity worked against him. Before he could react, he slid into a V-shaped crevice, with his arms pinned and his body nearly upside down. Just like that, he was stuck. So tightly that he couldn't go forward or back. He couldn't even expand his lungs properly to breathe. Rescue teams rushed in. Over the next 27 hours, more than 100 people worked tirelessly to save him. They brought in pulleys, tried every angle, even drilled into rock near his feet to make space. At one point, they almost freed him. Almost. But the cave wasn't done playing cruel games. The pulley system failed. The rock cracked. John slid further in. Hours passed. Then, heartbreak struck. His heart gave out. Trapped, upside down, alone, in the dark. He died in that narrow tomb. And here's what makes it worse. They couldn't recover his body. The cave was sealed. Nutty Putty was closed forever. Today, John Jones remains entombed beneath the earth. His story a chilling reminder of how unforgiving these caves can be when mistakes are made, or when the earth simply refuses to let go. What truly haunts people about John's story is the sheer helplessness of it all. Rescuers could see him, speak to him, even touch his legs, but they couldn't save him. The sound of drills echoed through the narrow shafts, mixed with John's fading voice, calmly asking if they were getting closer. He prayed, sang hymns with rescuers, and even cracked jokes to stay hopeful. His wife, pregnant with their second child, waited above ground, holding on to every shred of hope. But hope wasn't enough. The angle of his body caused blood to pool in his head, putting strain on his heart and lungs. Time was the enemy, and the cave had already won. Rescuers were heartbroken. Some had to be pulled away in tears. Even seasoned emergency workers admitted it was one of the worst situations they had ever faced. When it became clear they couldn't retrieve his body, the decision was made to leave him there, permanently. The cave was filled with concrete, the entrance sealed with a plaque, turning it into a grave no one can visit. Friends and strangers alike still leave messages online, offering condolences, apologies, and admiration for his bravery. John's story has become a legend, not because of how he died, but because of how fiercely he fought, and how deeply it affected everyone who tried to bring him home. The Crystal Cave Spin-Out. Now picture being deep inside a maze of crystal clear, water-filled passageways. It's surreal, beautiful, like something out of a fantasy film. But for diver Jill Heinerth, that beauty turned deadly in an instant. She was exploring Mexico's Crystal Cave system, mapping out its underwater veins with her team. These weren't your typical caves. They were flooded tunnels with delicate formations and tight squeezes that tested both nerves and navigation skills. Jill, an expert diver, was used to danger, but nothing prepared her for what was about to happen that day. It started like any other dive. She maneuvered through the passageways, careful not to kick up sediment that could cloud her vision. The deeper she went, the narrower the space became. Then, it happened. She entered a tight section just barely wide enough for her tank. The walls felt like they were breathing, flexing, alive, and closing in. Suddenly, her fin brushed against something. A flash. Silt exploded into the water. The bright crystal blue tunnel turned into total darkness. Visibility gone. Her orientation snapped. She was spinning, confused. Which way was up? Where had she come from? In caves like these, one wrong move means death. Panic crept in, but Jill held on. She knew one rule: follow the line. A thin guide rope tied to the entrance, her lifeline in the darkness. But even that had vanished in the silt. Jill calmed her breath, stopped moving, and waited. Slowly, the particles began to settle, and like a ghost emerging from fog, the line appeared. She grabbed it. Hand over hand, she made her way back, kicking gently, trusting her training. When she surfaced, her team said she'd been gone longer than expected. They had nearly started planning a rescue. One misstep, one moment of confusion, and things could have ended very differently. That dive became known as the spin-out incident. Even for a pro like Jill, it was a close call. A split second, a silt cloud, and the beauty of Crystal Cave nearly became her final resting place. What made the whole experience even more chilling was how silent everything became down there. No bubbles, no motion, just complete sensory blackout. Jill later described it as floating in nothingness, with the crushing thought that her next breath might be her last. The silence was loud, her own heartbeat echoing through her skull like a drum. And then came the hallucinations. Brief flashes of light that didn't exist. Twitches of movement in her peripheral vision. Her brain was starved for input, trying to make sense of the void. At one point, she could have sworn she heard someone call her name, but there was no one. Time stretched out, each second feeling like a minute, each breath a gamble. Even her own bubbles bounced off the low ceiling and echoed back distorted, like the cave was speaking in tongues. The danger wasn't just physical anymore, it was mental. That's the part people don't talk about enough. Caves like this aren't just geological mazes, they're psychological ones too. A test of control, willpower, and absolute trust in training. It's what separates survivors from statistics. Jill emerged shaken, sure, but changed. She never underestimated silence again. The water trap that didn't let go. The next one is harder to hear, mostly because the outcome is so haunting. It was supposed to be just another dive. Experienced diver Ben McDaniel was exploring the Vortex Spring Cave in Florida. Known for its inviting turquoise waters and deceptive simplicity, the cave had a reputation. And Ben? He had a reason for diving it again and again. See, Ben was trying to rebuild his life after personal tragedies. Diving gave him peace. It made sense. Underwater, there was silence, control, focus. He had trained for years, knew the dangers, and still pushed boundaries. That August afternoon in 2010, he descended alone, something already against protocol. Surveillance footage later showed him entering the cave, gear in place. But he never came out. Rescue divers followed. They mapped the area, combed every corner, but no sign of him. What confused everyone was that Ben had left his tank near a restriction point, a narrow passage where only the most advanced divers dared to go. The rest of his gear was beyond that, deep inside, somewhere past the warning sign that had claimed lives before. Some divers refused to search deeper. It was simply too dangerous. A few who dared said they nearly didn't return. Visibility was poor, corridors twisted like snakes. One diver reportedly found a single fin wedged in a crevice, but nothing else. Speculation went wild. Did Ben fake his death? Was there foul play? Or did the cave swallow him completely, hiding his body in some dark pocket never to be seen again? To this day, Ben McDaniel's body has never been recovered. No bubbles, no trace, nothing. That water trap, serene on the surface, remains one of Florida's most mysterious cave disappearances. His parents even put up a reward for information, hoping someone would find their son. But years passed, and the cave kept its secret. And as years rolled by, the silence became deafening. Cave diving experts debated whether the layout could even conceal a body for so long without some trace surfacing. Equipment was brought in, sonar scans attempted, and even remote-operated vehicles deployed. But still, the cave yielded nothing. Some suggested that new, unmapped chambers might exist beyond the known limits, areas no human had dared to enter. Others claimed they heard strange echoes inside the cave, like metallic clinks or faint exhalations, as if the cave itself remembered him. The dive shop near the spring still gets visitors asking about Ben. Some believe he's watching from afar. Others think the cave holds more than just geological secrets. One local swears he saw a shadow flicker beneath the surface on an early morning swim. Another says her dog refuses to approach the spring, barking at seemingly nothing. Theories flood Reddit threads and YouTube comments. Was it a tragic accident, a planned vanishing, or something supernatural? No one agrees, but every diver who enters that cave knows the name. And every one of them feels a chill when they pass the warning sign, knowing Ben McDaniel crossed it and never came back. What is it about caves that lure people in despite the danger? Maybe it's the silence, the mystery, the chance to see something few others ever will. But as these stories show, the underground doesn't play fair. One wrong turn, one misjudgment, one broken rope. That's all it takes. Whether it's getting stuck in Nutty Putty's grip, spinning helplessly in Crystal Cave, or vanishing without a trace in Vortex Spring, these incidents remind us that while caves are beautiful, they demand respect. And sometimes they don't give second chances. If this episode gripped you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into survival, mystery, and the extreme side of adventure. Drop a comment below with the wildest survival story you've heard. And if there's a place you'd never dare explore, we want to hear about it. Stay curious, stay safe. And don't forget, the darkest places often hold the most unforgettable stories.